Secondly, we have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put 2 dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coon. The white man to go nuts if he cash you. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, given to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations, I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
I'm getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation.
Queen.
Touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't here for my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I won't always smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all in Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get mad. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threat.
This is the sound of Eric Malcolm.
It's a cut on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threat. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans, and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to the to the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur TV show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Dr._A_Shakur, TikTok at Dr. A Shakur, and Twitter at DGoddess27. And as per usual, if you don't like what the Queen is cooking, you already know what to do. Okay. Most hated bronze flat power goddess in the house. April, Claudette, Juju B is here. All right. Queen Sam, Pearly, Anita. Okay, so let's get into it. Judah Homecoming. All right, Nessie X, I see you, beloved. Shout out to all of my loyal royals. I see you. I am unique. Deronda's in the house. Shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. All right, Red Wine Entertainment. So let's get into it. And shout out to my moderators because they really be putting in work. Okay. So I want to talk about the Menendez boys. I know I talked about them before, and for those of you who missed it, I showed how their father was in the music industry, which is what I think had a lot to do with the nefarious things that he did to them. Okay, because a lot of that goes on. It's almost ingrained and embedded in the culture of the industry. But so now their family has come out and given a press conference, and I told you all last week, I think it was, that they're trying to get them out of prison. Okay, they've already served 35 years. And after what they went through, I don't think they should ever have had to serve that lengthy a time. Of course, they should have had, gotten punished for their crimes. But I don't think it should have been 35 years, and I don't think they should have been ever sentenced to life. Okay, but before we get into that, let's talk about it because this father showed up at a school board meeting and he went in on them. He went in on them. So let's talk about it because clearly it was some shenanigans going on as it pertained to his daughter, who is 8 years old. Now, this dad was told by his 8-year-old daughter that she went to the restroom at school and a boy walked in to watch her to pee. Watch her pee. Now, I want you all to think about this if you have kids or grandkids. And that she went to the front office and told them what happened, and they told her there was nothing they could do about it. That's what they told her. So the dad took it upon himself. He went in front of the Cabarrus school board to protect his daughter's rights. And he called them cowards. And that's clearly what they are. Okay, so let's get into it, honey, because I found this all nefarious. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And for those of you who follow me on X, you've likely already seen this because I reposted it the other day.
Welcome, Mr. Matthews.
Hey, all right. I see cowards. First off, quit smiling. Why are you smiling? All I see, the one girl that went to the bathroom and went to the office to try to have something done about it, they said they couldn't do it because of Title IX, correct? Well, there is something you can do. You can create policy that goes out to the girls that says they can use the staff bathroom. One person on this board with a conversation told me that they can't turn away the girls from the staff bathroom. So why aren't you doing anything? My daughter, right here, sweetheart, tell these people, do you want a little boy to watch you pee?
No,
No. Why?
because it's inappropriate.
It's inappropriate. My 8-year-old daughter knows it's inappropriate, and yet y'all sit there silent. One of you told me that your personal views don't align with the views you show to the public. Cowards. That is not how you do it. That should show every parent in this county that you are not fit to sit on this board. Every one of you. Tell me you didn't say that this is not your job, that it should be left up to the ethics committee. I've heard you say, it's not my job. When it came to the books being in these schools, it is your job to look over who's in charge of catching those books. All you do is smile. Rob, I don't have a problem with you. But this has got to stop because I'm going to tell you, y'all come up here and talk about vaping and the dangers of vaping. If a little boy follows my daughter in that bathroom and touches her, you will have a new razor of dangers. This is ridiculous. You're opening up opportunity for problems to happen. You either create a new bathroom for those who are confused, or you send them to the staff bathroom. It's a very simple problem. We don't change policy for tens of thousands of people to accommodate. There is no problem what people do on their personal level. That is not my business, nor your business, nor anybody's business. That is their choice. But I tell you what, I want to prove that you're all hypocrites. Because each of you ladies, I want you to invite your husbands. And let's go to the bathroom. And I want them to watch me watch you use the bathroom. And let's see if they get mad. Let's prove to the public the hypocrites are still on this board. Because I bet you'll get mad when I watch your wife. Your husband will get mad when I watch you. Your husband would feel the same as I would about my wife. Now stand up and do something. You're so scared of losing federal funding, it's ridiculous. Every single one of you is cowards. And we keep coming up here year after year with the same clique. There's one woman on this board that stands up for the people and the kids. That's a role model. Y'all should listen and pay attention. That's why she gets the votes. We won't put a single Laura Lindsay sign out and she'll get the votes. Kenny Workman is the exact example of a man whose feelings are hurt because the right questions were asked. There, I called him out.
Thank you.
All they could say was thank you. They are complete idiots, okay? This makes no sense. Now, remember, I reported to you all last week, I think it was, how the children were being allowed to identify as animals at school. And so they were allowing them to go into the restrooms and urinate and poop on the floors because they said they were identifying as cats and dogs. You see, what you have to realize is this. Some of these children who are identifying as a different gender other than which they were born as, they may understand that because their parents have maybe spoken to them about it, but these other children have no idea what that is. So when they see you identifying as something, or these other children, when they see them identifying as something other than what they were biologically born as, then they are confused and they start thinking they can identify as anything that they want to identify as. So they start identifying as cats and dogs, okay, furries, as some of them call it. And then the teachers and staff are allowing them to go into the restrooms and poop on the floor. This is all insanity at its finest. The other thing is this. At the end of the day, why are some people getting special and preferential treatments? Because that little boy had a right to go in that restroom. Is that what they're saying? That's pretty much what they said. That he had a right to go in there. There's nothing they can do about it because they want to keep getting money from the state. They want to keep getting funding. So they're not going to say anything because that little boy has a right to go in the girl's restroom and watch her pee, but she doesn't have rights. What about her rights? I mean, how is it that some people are getting their rights, and some people are clearly being shown favoritism, and then the rest of us forget about our rights? We don't have a say. We can just be blatantly disrespected, make it all make sense. And here's another thing. If you remember, I reported to you about a year or so ago on the fact that this father went to the high school. It was a middle school or high school, but his 14-year-old daughter was raped in the restroom at school by a boy who was biologically a boy, but identified, so he says, as a female, went to school dressed as a girl. He went into the restroom and assaulted her. Now, when the father came up to the school very angry, and whose father wouldn't be, then they had the police come. And the police tackled this man to the ground and took him to jail. They took the father to jail for being upset because his daughter was raped. I find this all very sick and disgusting. Okay, that's what it is. It's very sick and disgusting. They should either have a restroom, okay, for them specifically. But no biological boy has any business going into the restroom with a biological girl or vice versa. And there should not be tampons in the boys' restroom. Tim Walls. Okay? This is all ridiculousness. And they're trying to normalize foolishness and insanity because that's what it is. Anytime you have children at school identifying as cats and dogs, and then they can come in there and poop on the floor and urinate on the floor, and that's okay, this is all insanity. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. This is all absolutely crazy at the end of the day. And like the father said, if somebody comes in there, some little boy, and touches his daughter, okay, then it's going to be a whole nother problem because I will be suing the school.
Okay? The superintendent, the board of education, everybody would be going down. I'm so glad my kids are grown, honey, because I could not. The things that these parents have to go through in this day and age is sad. And you have the Democrats to thank for it, just so you know. You have no one but the Democrats to thank for it. Now, mind you, here's another story. A woman posted a video because she says both of her sons were assaulted at school. And what did the school do? Well, I'm so glad you asked. They didn't do a thing. That's what they didn't do. They didn't do a thing. And I thought that if you are a caregiver, a daycare provider, a school teacher, that if a child comes to you and reports any type of abuse or neglect, any type of assault, that it is your duty to report it. But the school said nothing. So let's get into it because this stuff just ticks me off. It really, really does. Children should not be being victimized.
Both of my sons were SA'd at school, and when they notified a teacher, the teacher told them that he will have to look at the cameras to see if it was true. Y'all don't know who y'all messing with, so I'm going to take you guys along with me to show you how this goes. So I am currently here at the school waiting for the authorities. Oh, there he goes. Hello, officer. How are you? Okay, no, it's fine. So I did ask the school not to question my sons until I got here.
Yep.
And then will I be able to make a report today?
Yes. Yeah. We'll take a report.
Okay.
And everything. And depending on what's going on with it, usually the way that these work for us is like I'll take the initial report.
Okay.
Depending on what's going on with it, we'll either send it up to investigations.
Okay.
They do all this stuff. So like they actually don't want like me as a patrol officer. They don't want us interviewing kids either.
Okay.
So our investigations department, actually we have specific people that they're basically.
Okay.
So it's not a super fast process, but. Front desk United States.
Okay. So of course I had to make a police report, and yeah, so it's being handled. So I'm not playing about my babies. My daughter's birthday party is today, and no, her father.
Okay, so I don't know how that all turned out. I'll wait for her to post an update. But this is all crazy. How did this happen to both of her sons and the teacher didn't call the police? She had to after they came home and told her about it. So this is just all crazy, okay? I just want you all to pay attention. And you see, this is why I have been promoting homeschool. Okay, that's why I have been promoting homeschooling for your children because this is just absolutely crazy. Children should not have to go through this. When I was in school, such things were not even heard of. Oh, how times have changed. Please pay attention. So anyway, let's talk about the Menendez brothers. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Now, there was a high school friend of theirs who came out and spoke. One of their former classmates. So let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. I'm going to share my screen.
First. So I went to high school with him 35 years ago. And what's remarkable to me is in that amount of time, I've gone to college, I went to law school, I've had a family, I've practiced law, and he has remained in prison all of this time. So when I think back on it, I say, oh my God, the time that they've spent in prison is overwhelming. But the crimes that they committed were so gruesome and so awful that at the time, they were given life in prison without the possibility of parole. I have now practiced criminal defense for a very long time. I have never seen so many family members of the victims come to speak on behalf of the people that killed the victims. It is remarkable. It is unheard of. It is unprecedented. And I do think that because of the political climate, because Gascon is down in the pools, this is not an easy call to make. There's a lot of things that can happen in this case in very short order.
You know, I was thinking about that as the family stood outside the courthouse, and I thought, is the family doing Gascon a huge favor right now by softening anybody out there who's against releasing these Menendez brothers, softening the decision that maybe he's already made to release them, making it easier for Gascon to release them without getting any blowback? Because for God's sake, here are 20 family members saying, do the right thing.
All right. Well, let me go back to the question I actually didn't answer, and that was, I knew Eric. I went to high school with him, and I knew his father, Jose, and he was not a nice man. He was degrading. He was cruel. He humiliated Eric on and off the tennis court all the time. I was not in that bedroom, so I don't know if the sexual molestation took place or not. But I can certainly say that this was a really nasty, nasty man. And that was sort of a universally held belief. I also know that the first trial, there were 50 witnesses on behalf of Eric and Lyle, two different juries, both hung said, we really can't decide. And there was this middle ground that was a imperfect self-defense argument. And they could have found for manslaughter. And if they found for manslaughter, they would have been given a maximum of 11 years per each parent of 22 years. And so they would be out. The second trial, the judge gutted that defense, did not allow them to present the sexual abuse claims. Times have changed. Do I think more of that evidence would be in now? Yes. Do I think that this letter that has surfaced that preceded the murders, where it does corroborate one of the witnesses that testified at the first trial, is that new evidence? I do believe that that is new evidence. Is it substantial? It's pretty substantial. So there are legal issues here, but is Gascon going to simply say, I want these boys to be resentenced? And there are laws in California where you can go back and resentence people based on whether they have been rehabilitated, whether they are dangerous to the community, whether they were youthful offenders at the time, did they suffer childhood trauma, physical, emotional, sexual. So there are things.
Is that Marcy's Law? Because let me jump in only for a moment, because there are two tracks Mark Garagos keeps talking about, and he's their lawyer now. The track number one is the resentencing, where under the law, these guys are now considered victims under Marcy's Law, and they can consider readjusting the length of that sentence, and then that's done. The other track is the full-on get me out of here, habeas corpus, you're holding me illegally. I mean, literally holding the body is habeas corpus. That's what it means. And that is another track whereby the evidence would come in of the letter saying that we did the wrong thing by not allowing that evidence in, and we shouldn't be holding them.
Right. And I don't think that Mark Garagos is probably going to win on that issue, on the habeas corpus issue, because it's ultimately up to the judge. It's not up to the district attorney's office. And will these boys be retried with new evidence reintroduced? I think it's more likely that Gascon will recommend a resentencing, where he says that given the rehabilitation, given this new evidence, given all of the statements that were given today through Marcy's Law, where, remember, all of these people are considered victims. These are the nieces, the nephews, the sisters of the man and the woman who were slaughtered by their children, and they are saying, let them out.
Thanks for watching.
And you know why they're saying let them out? Because they know that they're telling the truth, and that their father did exactly what they said that he did, and that their mother was complicit in it. Otherwise, why would the mother's own sister be holding a press conference asking for her nephews to be freed? Okay, she clearly knew that the parents were dead wrong, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying she knew it at the time, but I'm saying that after the evidence has all come out, then I'm sure she knows that now. And in my opinion, they don't need another trial. They've already been through 2 trials. Okay, they have accepted their punishments. I think they should be resentenced and they should be let out. Period. That's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. Now, this is the mother of Kitty Menendez, who was the mother of Lyle and Eric Menendez.
So to see. Not very much face to face.
With the glasses up.
No, not even mine. Yes. Okay.
That's the top.
Okay. Please know that I'm nervous and full of emotions. I never thought this day would come. I am Kitty's sister. I stand here today with a heavy heart and also with hope and justice and understanding. We have received such an outpouring support in recent weeks, which led us to launch this formal initiative. For many years, I struggled with terms with what happened to my sister's family. It was a nightmare none of us could have imagined. But as details of Lyle and Eric's abuse came to light, it became clear that their actions, while tragic, were the desperate response of two boys trying to survive the unspeakable cruelty of their father. As their aunt, I had no idea of the extent of the abuse they suffered at the hands of my brother-in-law. None of us did. But looking back, I can see the fear and tension that their father had instilled on them. They were just children who could have been protected and were instead brutalized in the most horrific ways. The truth is, Lyle and Eric were failed by the very people who should have protected them, by their parents, by the system, by society at large. When they stood trial, the whole world was ready to believe that the boys could be raped. Was not ready, not ready. The whole world was not ready to believe boys could be raped, or that young men could be victims of sexual violence. Today we know better. We know that abuse has long-lasting effects, and victims of trauma sometimes act in ways that are very difficult to understand.
Let me just pause right there for a moment. She said victims of trauma may often act in ways that are very hard to understand. This is absolutely true. For those of you who follow my spiritual channel, you know that I have told you that people who are victims of trauma often make decisions based off of their trauma. Okay. Now, December White says when they get out, they need to be under heavy surveillance. Why would they need to be under surveillance? They've served their time. They're not a danger to society. It's not like they were mass shooters. It's not like they were killers or rapists or anything like that. They took out the parents, the people who were abusing them, the people who were assaulting them. Because let's not forget, their mother was doing things too, according to them. Okay, and also she was complicit. She knew what the father was doing, according to them, and she didn't do anything to stop it. Okay, I can only imagine the rage that would build up in you, and build up in someone. And let's not forget that I have worked with children who have been abused, both mentally, physically, and verbally, who've been assaulted by their own parents or other people in their family, and it has been swept under the rug, and nothing was done. And they have told me, some of them have told me, that they plotted to kill their parents. Now, if you've never gone through anything like that in your life, I'm sure you would not be able to fathom it. Someone said in the chat, "Oh, it's horrible. How do you kill your mother?" Well, I'm sure that if your mother was doing those things to you or allowing your father to do those things to you and wouldn't protect you as they should, I'm sure that could make you grow to hate her just as much as you hate the main abuser. Okay? So I don't find that hard to believe at all. At the end of the day, could be devastating. to anyone. And I could imagine growing to hate the people that are doing these things to you. These are the people that are supposed to love, nurture, and protect you. But instead, this is what they're doing. And let's not forget, when I told you guys about how Diddy, when I told you that the insider told me that Diddy was reenacting during those freak offs, he was reenacting stuff about the Roman god Bacchus and the Bacchanalias, which were orgies and festivals that they used to have in honor of Bacchus back in the days of ancient Rome, that he was reenacting those. That's what a lot of his freak offs were for. And that in those freak offs, this is why Diddy is accused of raping men and boys. Because that's what they were doing back then. Because back then they felt like that was okay. And even in the movie, if you watch the Monsters movie, the story of Lyle and Eric Menendez on Netflix, they showed a scene in there where the father had on a crown like Caesar wore back in the days of ancient Rome, and he had hired a male prostitute and had the person crawling on the floor to him like he was the king. And he also told his son, supposedly, that back in the days of ancient Rome, this is what they did, to boys, to make them tough. So he was doing the same thing to them that Diddy has been alleged of doing to other young men. Okay? So at the end of the day, I have no sympathy and empathy for him. The only people that I have sympathy and empathy for and view as victims are Lyle and Eric Menendez. And they don't need to be surveilled when they get out. They need to be left alone so they can live the rest of their lives peacefully. Okay? They've already suffered enough as far as I'm concerned. But that's just my 2 cents. Now let's continue.
In the years since their conviction, society's understanding of sexual abuse and its psychological impact has grown significantly. We understand that a person doesn't need to fit a specific mold, whether it's gender or socioeconomic status, in order to experience abuse. In their case, if it were tried today, the evidence of their father's abuse would not only be admitted in court, it would provide essential context for why they acted as they did. No jury today would issue such a harsh sentence without taking their trauma into account. Lyle and Eric have already paid a heavy price, discarded by a system that failed to recognize their pain. They have grown, they have changed, and they have become better men despite everything that they've been through. It's time to give them the opportunity to live the rest of their lives free from the shadow of their past. While I recognize it is election season, this isn't about us or about the politics. It's about finding the truth, delivering justice, creating space for healing. I want to thank everyone who has reached out to our family in recent days and weeks, asking how they can help. Today we have an answer. Please sign our petition at www.justiceforericandlyle.org and urge the district attorney's office, no matter who holds the DA position, to consider all the evidence, both old and new, and to bring together justice for the family. And thank you very much for listening to me. I'm sorry I'm so nervous I can't help it.
Okay, bless her heart. This is all so sad. This is very triggering. This is very triggering because when I think back to the children that I counseled who said that they had been through similar things as Lyle and Eric Menendez, they easily could have ended up in their shoes. Okay? Because when I tell you that some of them told me that they absolutely plotted, had full-on plans of taking out the abuser. In some cases, it was the father. In some cases, it was an uncle or a cousin, some adult in the family. And then to add insult to injury, when they told this information to other family members out of shame, The family very often swept this under the rug. That's what they did. Now, with that all being said, one of the members of their family does not want them to get out, and that is their uncle. Menendez brothers' uncle says they should not be allowed to get out. Said they shouldn't be released. So let's get into it.
That is one side of the story, but another member of the Menendez family sees it very differently.
He thinks the brothers need to stay in prison.
Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes live in Beverly Hills to tell us who he is and why he feels that way. Rob.
Yeah, not everyone believes Lyle and Eric Menendez should be released. One of those people is Milton Anderson, not a very well-known name, but his sister, Kitty Menendez, was shot and killed by the brothers in this house. An impressive sight today outside the courthouse where the Menendez brothers were sentenced. Extended family members of the brothers surrounded by a sea of media asking for the two to be released from prison. But not every family member feels that way.
Mr. Anderson firmly believes that his nephews were not molested. He believes that that is a fabrication, and he believes that the motive was pure greed.
Attorney Kathy Cady represents Milton Anderson, the brother of Kitty Menendez. This photo of the siblings taken just 3 weeks before Kitty was shotgunned to death by her two sons in 1989. Katie says Anderson, who is now 90 years old, wants the brothers to remain imprisoned and serve their life sentences at the very least for killing his younger sister.
At the time of the trial, at least according to the Court of Appeal opinion, one of the brothers said that killing her was, quote, a mercy killing.
The latest move to release the brothers comes after the attorney for the two submitted new evidence he claims helps prove their father sexually abused them. But Katie says that was filed over a year ago and that District Attorney George Gascon is now using the case to drum up political support as he nears the election.
Mr. Anderson just wants to make sure that whatever decision is made, that it's not politically driven, that it really is done because of the right reasons.
Katie also says against California law, Anderson has been brushed aside by the DA's office, denied input on the fate of his sister's killers. Gascon's office declined to comment on Anderson's lack of involvement.
Mr. Anderson understands that he's not going to be the one who's going to be able to make the final decision, but he wants to make sure that the person who does make that final decision doesn't forget about him.
Now, Anderson's attorney says they sent a letter to George Gascon asking to meet with the DA before he makes any kind of decision on the Menendez brothers. They have not heard back.
End of the day, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for him, but they absolutely do deserve to be out. And here's the thing. He clearly, in my opinion, doesn't want to believe that his sister was complicit. That may be hard for him to accept, but at the end of the day, the evidence has shown that their father was absolutely doing things to them. And their mother, well, she was complicit because she knew what was going on and she did nothing. And like I said, she was also doing a few sketchy, inappropriate things with them herself. Nothing to the extent of what the father was doing, but nonetheless, the things she was doing was inappropriate. And even if she had not been doing anything inappropriate, it was still, it should be frowned upon that she knew about it and didn't do anything about it, okay? She could have taken them and left her husband, but she stayed there, in my opinion, because of all that money that Jose Menendez, in fact, had, okay? Because she knew that Jose Menendez was doing stuff to them. She knew that he was out there lying and cheating on her, and she also knew that he was messing around with men. How do I know she knew that? Because he was messing with her own sons. So clearly she knew that he was sketchy. Okay, so I'm sorry. I mean, I feel a little bit of empathy for the uncle because he's like 90 years old and he just is probably suffering from cognitive dissonance because even though the evidence is right there for all to see, he just doesn't want to accept that his sister was complicit. And that's just what I think about that. Now, let's go to what their attorney said. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Teacope said, didn't they tell her money mattered more than her children? Yeah, that's what it seems like, that she did care more about the money. Red White Entertainment said the uncle must have been at Diddy's parties. You are so nefarious, beloved. Okay.
part of the two prongs of new evidence were, number one, a letter that was found at Marta Kano's house. That was a letter written by Eric fully 8 months before the killings to his cousin Andy. His cousin Andy testified at the trial. However, in the second trial, was demeaned as making this up or was not true. This letter now shows or corroborates that Andy was telling the truth. The letter describes the abuse. The letter, I believe, was released, at least temporarily, by the DA's office. And anybody who wants it, we could release that as well. The other pillar of the writ of habeas corpus was a declaration by Roy Rosello. The declaration by Roy Rosello is incredibly important for a number of reasons. Number one, Roy Rosello, who was a member or a then member of the band Menudo, was and took great courage at Nuri's finding him and talking to him to sign a declaration that said that he too was assaulted by the father, and not only assaulted, but it happened at the house.
Okay, so that's what the attorney said. Okay, there's new evidence. And the sad thing is that when the cousin testified during the trial, the first trial, they acted as though he were lying. Now, here's what I want you all to pay attention to, because I have studied this stuff extensively. I've researched this stuff extensively years ago. Okay, because like I said, I've dealt with children, counseled children who had these same issues. So, with that all being said, the bottom line is I don't think it's so much as people couldn't fathom it back then, the judge couldn't accept it or whatever. But the reason, in my opinion, that they didn't want to accept the cousin's testimony and they tried to say that he was just lying and making it all up. And by the way, the cousin's now deceased. And as I told you last week, the reason they have the letter that was written to him before the incident occurred, well, the mother of the cousin was going through his belongings after his demise, and she just came across the letter, which clearly says to me that this had been going on previously, that they didn't just make up this story. This is not something they just came up with as an alibi or an excuse. This is what was actually going on. But in my opinion, the reason that it wasn't accepted, and the cousin wasn't believed, I think that they absolutely did. And I'm not talking about the jury, but I'm speaking specifically about the judge who wouldn't allow that same evidence into the second trial. Didn't want to hear anything about that. I have questions about that judge. Is he a predator? Was he a predator or she a predator? Okay, I have questions because at the end of the day, here's the thing. There are people in high places. These people could be politicians. They could work in the judicial system. Okay. They could work, they could be any type of big name person of authority or what have you. They could be FBI or whatever. But it's interesting to me that these people very often don't seem to want to tell the truth about children being assaulted and raped. Like that's taboo. They don't want to talk about that. Okay. It's not that it's unheard of. It's not that they don't think that it can happen. It's not that they don't believe that it's a possibility. But people like to sweep that under the rug. And the reason, in my opinion, people like to sweep that under the rug is because there are a whole lot of big time people. Okay. A lot of people with money and power who engage in these things, just like Jose Menendez. And so they don't like a light being shown on these sorts of cases and on these sorts of accusations. Pay attention, because even with Diddy's case, why aren't they talking about the children? Why aren't they saying anything about the children that were allegedly used as party favors? Why hasn't that been spoken about in Diddy's case? Now, we do have the allegation from Tony Busby about the 9-year-old that was now an adult. But what about all these stories that Allie Carter has been saying for years? She didn't just start saying this stuff when Diddy was arrested. She's been saying it for years. I remember first hearing her speaking about it in 2021. Okay? At the same time that me and Odd Negroes Official were talking about Cassie exposing Diddy. So at the end of the day, people just don't want to talk about it because there's a whole lot of people with money, power, and privilege who engage in these things. They're complicit in these things. So let's not shine a light on that. Let's just talk about this. Okay? So please pay attention because nobody's saying anything about those children that were alleged to have been at those freak offs with Diddy. Nobody's talking about those tunnels. Remember, you heard it from me first. I told you all about those tunnels. I showed you the blueprints. Where were those tunnels going to? Why were they going from Diddy's house to the Playboy Mansion? Now, let's not forget, Allie Carter confirmed what I said. She said that those tunnels led to the Playboy Mansion. She said that she had been taken to the Playboy Mansion from Diddy's house. How'd she get there? Okay. How'd she get there? I just want you all to pay attention. Sandra says, exactly, Queen. It was 2021. Exactly. Thank you, beloved. Okay, so, but let's go on because Eric and Lyle, they actually graduated from college, high school and college, while they've been in prison. I'm going to show the ceremony from when they graduated from college in prison. I'm not going to play the audio, so you won't hear them call their names. I'm not going to play the audio because this video is from TikTok and it has music in the background. So they were making the most of their time in prison. Okay. And they were getting counseling for those of you who asked, and they were also helping other people. Okay, so there you have it. So very sad. They have been in prison longer than some people have been alive. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, I'm just glad that they're finally getting some support and that people, are just realizing that they were victims of trauma who lashed out. And what they did, in my opinion, is no different than what Centoya Brown did. Centoya Brown was a victim of trafficking, and she took out the predator who was doing things to her. They sent her to prison too, remember, for about 11 years. Fortunately, she was able to get out. Because why would you punish the victims? I mean, of course, they should get some consequences, for their actions. But this is all just, as far as I'm concerned, it's just overkill. Now I'm going to share my screen because recently the home that they once lived in has been all over TikTok. It's gone viral. Okay, people showing it on TikTok and stuff. And here's another thing to think about also. Someone asked who has all of their money. Well, they likely don't have any money left at this point because they had two expensive trials. Okay. A murder trial is very costly, not to mention a double murder. Okay. A double homicide. So, and they had two trials, not one. So likely all of that money's gone. Their father was worth back then $14.5 million. Okay. Now that was much more back then than it is now. But that much of that money, if not all of it, is likely gone. So when they get out, they will possibly have to start from scratch. Okay. So likes up, everyone, please like and share. I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, do I have something special for you guys today? This is 722 North Elm Street in Beverly Hills, California, and this is the famous Menendez house. Now, this is the famous Beverly Hills home where Eric and Lyle Menendez killed their parents. This was a huge crime, and today I'm showing you guys pictures because this house is on the market right now for $19.9 million. And just today they had an open house here. and they were letting everybody in. So if you just showed up here, you could come in and check it out. So if you guys want to check it out, they probably will have some in the future. $20 million, this house probably won't sell too insanely fast, but you never know. But this is one of the most famous crime locations in the country. And when you have a chance to come in and check one of these places out, you jump at it. But these are some shots inside and outside of the famous Menendez house. Now, once again, this is 722 North Elm in Beverly Hills. And this was the home of Kitty and Jose Menendez. And the Menendez brothers lived with them. And this is where the crime happened. Now, it's not every day that you get a chance to go inside places like this. And I don't believe there's been too many pictures posted of the inside of this house. But here's the balcony. And here is some of the detail in this house. But for 20 million bucks, this could be yours.
Okay, not for 20 million bucks, but here's the thing. I would not want to live in that house after all the horrendous things that happened. And I'm not just talking about them murking their parents there. I'm talking about the nefarious things that happened to them. And the fact that their father lived there, I actually think their father was one of those Satanists, like many other people in the music industry. And I think that had a lot to do with what he did to them. That's just my opinion. So I definitely wouldn't want that house, honey. Okay. I would not want that house. And if I did take that house, it would only be if they gave it to me for free. And then I would have at least 2 priests come in and just bless the house, okay, or something like that. All right. Sage would always be burning, is all I'm saying. Okay. Even, and really, I probably couldn't even stay in it if they gave it to me for free, scary as I am. I'm sorry. Probably would have to be a no. Okay. Nanny said exorcist. Okay, so anyway, now let's go to this video where the family is speaking with Chris Cuomo. Lights up, everyone, please like and share.
So, Tamara, when you're thinking through why they did what they did, how do you understand why you don't judge it the way you would under any other circumstances?
There was a comment that I had recently heard from the previous prosecutor who basically characterized it as, if they really killed their parents and they were really remorseful, they would have told us or called the police right away. However, if you look at how much pain that they endured, how much torture that they endured, how much abuse that they survived through, that came out in the way that they committed the act that they did. It was learned behavior of what they knew what to do. And so when I think about it now, it's an act out of pain, it's an act out of misery, and it's something that they were just so desperately wanting to get out of. And while they might have had the means to escape, they also did not want to see it to happen to anybody else, which they knew quite possibly could happen.
Mhm. Okay, so, and then come to find out it did happen to someone else. Okay. It come to find out it did happen to someone else. And I heard that it wasn't just Roy Rossello from Menudo, that it was a couple of other people too who are now adults who say that Jose did things to them too. Okay. So this man was clearly nefarious. Terry said, I said the same thing, Queen. Thanks. No thanks to that. I know that's right, honey. Police. Okay. All right. Let's just go to a few more videos and then we're out of here. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance, beloveds.
What do you think about the Menendez brothers? I got a little story to tell. In 1996, Lyle sent me a letter, basically said, I know you know, and I hoped we could connect. And he was right. I did know that they were innocent. I did know that those were boys who had been incested. And why I knew and how I knew, Lyle also knew. I didn't write him back because I felt afraid and I wasn't ready to touch the subject. And, you know, it was 1996. So now I see the new documentary where Roy Rosella from Menudo said that he too was sexually abused and raped by Jose Menendez, and that he bled rectally afterward. You know, in 96, you know, in the late 80s, people weren't ready to accept the fact that boys too get raped, sometimes by their fathers. And as a culture, we ridiculed them. Jokes about them on Saturday Night Live, jokes from Jay Leno every night. Everyone thought this was a funny target. 2 kids who had been molested since the age of preschool, fighting back and standing up, and people thought they just wanted the money. They had the money. They didn't need the money. Money was not what it was about. So now it's 30 years later. I see the documentary and I leave a little TikTok and I get a phone call. It's Lyle's wife, Rebecca, and she wants to know if it would be okay if he called me. And I said yes, and he did. And we have been talking and sharing and becoming very close, and his wife is amazing, a 25-year relationship that they kept open and growing and thriving in those horrific circumstances. Both Lyle and Eric have amazing prison records with what they've done with their time and how they've spent their 30-plus years in jail. So we believe them now because of Roy from Menudo? Do we believe now because of the letter that Eric sent his cousin 8 months before the murder? Yeah, it's time. I believe them. They were horribly abused by their parents. They did the unthinkable, which had been done to them day after day after day. And they paid the price for that. The price would have been 10 years, each victim, plus possibly a gun charge, maybe 25, 27 years. They've been in longer than that. Free the Menendez brothers.
Okay, Rosie O'Donnell, my question is, if you knew they were innocent, why didn't you testify at the trial? Why didn't you write him back when he wrote you in 96? I have a lot of questions. How did she know that they were, that they were telling the truth? How did she know that they were telling the truth? I just wonder. Okay, Maud Egypt said Rosie O'Donnell aged badly. And she did, honey. I didn't know who she was. Thank goodness she put her name on the video because I had no idea who she was. Okay, please pay attention. Now, here's another video of the family talking. And then I want to go to this Barbara Walters interview that they did with her some years ago.
A family once torn apart made a unified plea.
It's time to recognize the injustice they've suffered and allow them the second chance they deserve.
Asking a crowd of more than 100 reporters to understand Lyle and Eric Menendez were abused by their parents and petitioning for their release from prison for killing Jose and Kitty Menendez 3 decades ago.
Over time, it became clear that there were 2 other victims there on that day, my cousins Lyle and Eric.
Lyle and Eric Menendez had always claimed the shotgun killings were self-defense, arguing they were subject to constant physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. The first jury deadlocked. In the second trial, the judge severely limited claims of sexual abuse, and jurors voted to convict.
They were just children who could have been protected and were instead brutalized.
Brutalized in the most horrific of fashions. Okay, likes up, everyone. Please like and share. This is absolutely so sad. I mean, it really brings tears to my eyes, even just think about what they had to go through.
To the new developments tonight in the case of the Menendez brothers, nearly 30 years now after Lyle and Eric Menendez were convicted for murdering their parents. Tonight, a major show of support. Could they get a chance at freedom? Here's Mola Lengi.
After 35 years behind bars for brutally killing their parents, tonight, a new push for freedom for the infamous Menendez brothers. Dozens of family members, friends, and supporters joining forces to pressure the LA District Attorney to recommend resentencing in the case.
Lyle and Eric are not the same people they were 35 years ago. They've shown that they are more than their past.
It was a shocking crime that is now getting fresh scrutiny amid new evidence and a new Netflix series and documentary.
I believed that it was an honest and reasonable belief that I was going to die.
The trial riveted this country. Eric and Lyle claimed they feared for their own lives when they gunned down their parents in their Beverly Hills mansion. The brothers describing horrific sexual abuse by their father, Jose Menendez.
He raped me.
Did you cry?
Yes.
And their cousins backing up their allegations of abuse.
He proceeded to indicate to me by touching himself down and saying that his dad and him had been touching each other down there.
That jury, more than 30 years ago, deadlocked.
The court declares a mistrial.
But LA prosecutors would try the Menendez brothers once again, just a week after their case against O.J. Simpson fell apart.
Not guilty of the crime of murder.
Simpson going free. In the second trial, the judge severely limiting testimony about abuse. The brothers convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Years later, in a surprise move, the LA District Attorney now reviewing the case, weighing new evidence, including a letter Eric wrote to a cousin detailing the alleged abuse just months before the murders, along with a recent allegation from Roy Rossello, a member of the band Menudo, who says he too was molested by Jose Menendez, a powerful record executive. DA George Gascon telling our Juju Chang any recommendation will consider the decades already served and the behavior of the brothers behind bars.
Do you think the Menendez brothers will walk free someday?
Given the totality of the circumstances, I don't think that they deserve to be in prison until they die.
The Menendez family arguing the sexual abuse of boys has long been ignored.
They would be victims of a culture that was not ready to listen. They would be mocked. They would be called cold-blooded killers.
Kitty Menendez's own sister, Joan, who's now 92, says the brothers have already paid a heavy price.
They were just children who could have been protected and were instead brutalized in the most horrific ways.
Well, David, while a majority of the family supports the brothers' release, Kitty's brother remains against it. Now, the district attorney says he could make a decision as early as this month, but ultimately it'll be up to a judge to decide whether the Menendez brothers are released from prison or if they get a new trial, David.
A lot of attention on this.
I hope that judge has some empathy and sympathy for their plight. Okay. I hope that judge is not somebody who's a previous predator or a predator themselves, honey, because that's what I think was going on with that second trial. I just found that all very interesting that judge didn't want any of that brought in as evidence. Okay. The things that had happened to them, because just think about it. If you don't have that, which is a very serious factor, okay, a mitigating factor, if you don't have that, then it just looks like they're cold-blooded killers. And that's obviously what they wanted them to look like, and it clearly works. Okay, just a couple of more videos, and then we're out of here. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
After more than 3 decades, new evidence means that the Menendez brothers' murder case is being looked into again. If you've seen the Netflix series, you'll know that Eric and Lyle Menendez were found guilty of murdering their parents and sentenced to life in prison in 1996. They were accused of wanting to inherit their parents' fortune. Now, though, new evidence submitted by the brothers, who claim that they were sexually abused by their father and that they acted in self-defense, means that the case is being reviewed. Their first trial ended in a hung jury because of these abuse claims, but these were mostly withheld in the second one. The most senior prosecutor in LA County, George Gascon, said his office had a lot of calls after the release of the Netflix series about the two brothers. And Kim Kardashian commented too, saying they are not monsters, they are kind, intelligent, honest men. In the review, they'll look at the 1988 letter from Eric Menendez to his cousin, which reportedly appears to mention his father's abuse. But Gascon emphasizes that none of this information has been confirmed.
All right, so here we go. Likes up, beloveds. Now, this is Lyle when he was testifying during the trial, and the attorney asked him, how did he get that scar on his left eye?
Do you have a scar by your left eye?
Yeah, from the coffee table.
Do you recognize this picture?
That's myself and Tristesse.
And does something appear to be wrong with your left eye?
That's the injury to my left eye when I got thrown into the coffee table. I was roughhousing with my dad in the Muncie house, and I grabbed his genitals at one point, which he did to me a lot. but he just snapped. As soon as I did that, he yanked me up, and he said something, but I don't remember, and threw me basically it was only a couple feet, but across the room into a coffee table. And I split my eye open and was just screaming, and he took me by the arm, and he gave me to my mother, and we went to the hospital.
She comfort you?
No, she was very upset. I was roughhousing with my dad, and that's what I get for roughhousing with my dad, and I should know better. I did get the sense that maybe, I always felt maybe she was sorry and she just wished it didn't happen or something, and so was attacking me in a response to not being able to say that. But she was very harsh.
The mother was very harsh. I'm sorry, father or not, but you take my son and throw him into a coffee table and it hits him in the corner of right on his temple, and it's a gash and it's bleeding. He could have blinded him in that eye. Low down, dirty devil. Okay, at the end of the day, Jose Menendez, as far as I'm concerned, is exactly where he deserves to be. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, I want to go to this Barbara Walters interview, okay, that she did with them some years ago.
When you heard that verdict, first degree murder, guilty.
That I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison without any possibility of ever getting released. And you're devastated. I was devastated.
Could have been death. Did you think that?
I was terrified that they would give either one of us death, and that's scary.
It's important to you to stay together when you get moved to the state prison?
Very important. That is what's gotten us through these 6 years and through our life. The family that Eric and I grew up in, we had to be there for each other throughout, and it really created a bond that gets us through very rough periods.
Some people might say, why should we put them together? I mean, look what they did. They should be punished as much as possible. Let's separate them. What do you say to that? You know people will say that, some.
There's nothing to say to that. What we did, it was awful, and I wish I could go back. We will spend the rest of our life in prison, but if we're not put in the same prison, there's a good probability I will never see him again, and some things that you cannot take, and there's some things that you can endure. With everything taken away, it'll be the last. It's the last thing you can take.
Okay, I don't know who that was, but anyway. All right, so there you have it. Very sad story, tragic. Hopefully they will get out. I mean, I just hope and pray that they do, because they have served their time, and what happened to them was already tragic enough. What happened to them was already tragic enough. So, I appreciate everyone's input, who said your thoughts, who gave your thoughts on the story and all of that, whether you agree or disagree with them getting out. So that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Now, listen, let me tell you guys something. I'm not going to be live on the spiritual channel today. I'll be on there tomorrow, but I'm not going live on the spiritual channel today because I have some things to do. But listen, I have a broadcast that I'm going to be doing later on the main channel for you guys, probably around 7:30 or 8 tonight. But I think you'll find it very interesting. Okay. So we're going to be on the main channel, not the spiritual channel. I mean, I can't do more than 3 lives a day. I'm sorry. Okay. I mean, I could, but I don't want to. So we'll be on there later. So make sure you have those notifications on. I'll be posting it later today. Maybe in the next couple of hours, I'll be posting it, but I will be back live on the main channel. And trust me, you don't want to miss it because this is something interesting that we all need to be paying attention to. And it's not Diddy, but we need to be paying attention to what's really going on, okay, around us. All right. So that all been said, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got